Greetings, Naked News Guy here. Today I want to talk about my 37th political position, which is what I call farmers' banks. Now, as we explained in our video yesterday, the reality of farming and ranching is that you need to borrow money. The reality is that if you don't let banks have an ability to seize collateral, they're not going to loan money to you. So there's only one solution. We need to create what I call farmers' banks in each state. Basically, how these banks would work is simple. They would do three things. They would provide crop insurance. They would provide the initial capital for people wanting to start small farms and ranches, because we want to not just keep people on the land, we want to bring them back to it. And of course, this would be for anyone who is a citizen or legal resident who completed their national service. And the third thing is they would provide the temporary financing that farmers need for things like equipment. Now, of course, when we talk about money, we always have to talk about how will the money be paid back. You see, that's the problem. People always, both parties always talk about, let's give money for this, let's give money for that. They never actually talk about how that money needs to be paid back. Okay? Traditional loans work very simply. The idea is you pay back X amount of money over X amount of time, whether it's 10 years, 20 years, 1 year, whatever it is, at a certain interest rate. How these farmers' banks would work is very simple. When you get this loan, you have to pay back based on what your gross income is. Now, we're not going to go off net income, because there's always ways that smart people can figure out how to lower their taxes. So that's bullshit too. You know, that's why you see a movie that grosses $400 million and, you know, it pays no taxes because they find expenses. So very simple. It would be a maximum of 10% of the gross income, and these loans would have no time period in which they need to be repaid. So if you have a bad year, you don't have to pay on the loan. But if you have a good year, you have to pay more. And these loans would be charged at no interest. Look, these are taxpayer-supported loans. So anyone who pays taxes, and we all do, one way or the other, you know, is already paying to support these institutions. So people should not be charged back in addition to this. So let's say I run a small farm. You know, I sell $900,000 a year worth of oranges, okay? I have $1 million loan. They take $90,000 out of my money. They apply it towards that million. If it takes me 5 years to pay off that loan, that's great. If it takes me 50 years to pay off that loan, that's fine too. You know, that's how these farmers' banks would work in this country. Instead of having a set time period, it would be, hey, you owe us $1 million. You know, you paid us back 90 this year. You owe us 910. You know, next year, if I only make $200,000, I pay back 20. Pure and simple. Real simple solution here. Get private banks out of the farming business, and provide a way for people to get the financing they need. Naked News Guy here, proposing